this, but another astral projection experience just now. And this is quite unusual because my experiences have been beyond body. Without a doubt, for the last year or so, the last few years, the vast majority of my experiences have been the beyond body. And suddenly, I'm starting to astral project like crazy. And I'm not sure exactly what it all means, especially because this took place in the afternoon. It is now 5:07, but I left my body about 4:30. That is highly unusual that I would leave my body at that time. But I had decided, I just come from the gym and I was tired. And it's interesting, as I get into this, one of the things I know that there are people that are asking me about astral projection and about different tips. And my reply to this has been, you know, I do believe that this is your own unique experience and that your process is going to be unique. So everybody's going to have a different process to leave their body. That's number one. But there are a few general things that you can do when you leave your body or before you leave your body to ensure you're going to have an experience. One of the things that I've found to be very important, and it's going to sound very simple to you, but be tired before you do this, before you make an attempt to leave your body. Try to be as tired as you possibly can. Work out, study, do all the things that you would normally do, focus, all those things. And the more exhausted you are before you make an attempt, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to leave your body. At least that's been the case with me. And I'm just talking about me. It could be different with you. But for those of you who are wondering about myself and about my process, one of the things that helps me along is simply exhaustion, being tired. So that happened with this. I was tired when I came home from the gym, and I decided to lay down and maybe take a little bit of a nap. But I was thinking, I was still thinking, hey, it's all good. It would be nice if I had an experience, but again, it is highly unusual for me to have an experience like this. Now, this was an interesting twist with my experience. And the reason that this was such an interesting twist was before it started. Now, I've spoken in other episodes about feeling beings touching my hand or feeling their energy and just communicating with them. I've talked about that before. I have contacted and been in contact with a young Asian girl by the name, I believe, of Mito, who has had conversations with me before in that way through contact with me. I've also had what I consider to be an angelic being who sang to me, and she basically saying, the day is done, the day is done. And I felt this burst of energy. So those are two instances that I can think of right offhand. In this instance, I felt a being hold my finger. Now, I don't know, it was interesting. It was just my finger, and as soon as I made the contact, I started in my mind, in my thoughts, asking, who are you? Who are you? And I kept asking, who are you? And the being wasn't answering me. I just felt a surge of energy, again, from my back. And specifically from my spine. And I say again because when that angelic being had sung to me, I felt the energy in that same area, in my spine area and in my back. It was a burst of energy. It was the same thing here. Now, the being that gave me this shot of energy wasn't communicating with me, was just giving me energy. don't know who it was, don't know who the being was. The being did not identify themselves to me. However, as soon as I got the burst of energy, I rolled out of my body. I rolled out of my body at that moment and I stood up. And and this is going to be interesting, excuse me, because it's always different. The scene that I see, the environment that I come into when I leave my body, it's never the same. I know that there are people who are wondering, like when you leave your body, let's say you're in your apartment, are you going to see your apartment and are you going to see your body sleeping and you're going to be floating around and all this other business? I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself. In my case, I've always seen different scenes. Not necessarily my apartment, but variations on my apartment. It looks different. It doesn't look the same as it looks when I am walking around in my body. Things are rearranged. It's just different. And in this case, it was different again. I remember coming out of my body and there was a very large window. Now, I don't remember much else about the surroundings, only that my surroundings were different. They were different. That's the only thing I can really tell you. And I can't be really more specific than that it was different. So I was facing this very large window. It was like a big, large bay window. And I looked outside, and outside there was like a path. It was like, a path. I guess that's a good way to say it, perhaps. A path. Um, if you go outside of your apartment right now and you start walking down different paths, different areas where you see different buildings and such, maybe that's what I was seeing. For those of you who live in apartments, I remember coming out and I was just flying along this path. And I remember at one point I did see what I thought was an apartment number. It was either 2302 or 302 on this, I guess there was a stairway that I was looking at, that I was coming towards. And I don't want to say stairway, it was more like a balcony of some sort. And I saw that number. I don't know, I could be wrong about that. Again, when I come back from these experiences, I immediately begin to forget all of the details. So for those of you who want to know details, I apologize. As soon as I come back, I really try to run here to my computer so that I can give you as much as I can, as much as I remember. I remember going along a path. I remember seeing numbers like an apartment number, but while this apartment building seems similar to my building, and I'm just going to put it this way, it seems similar, it was different somehow. Now, at some point, I went into either a tunnel or sort of I guess you could say it was, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. It may have been a little tunnel or something like that. In fact, I guess I could think of it like a tunnel. I passed through this tunnel after flying over this path. And I remember as I was flying, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool to be flying around. And as I came out, I was continuing on the path, but on the other side of me was a drop off, like as if I was suddenly on a cliff, and below it was absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh. Anyone that has been in the hills in California and looked down and seen the landscape, it was absolutely amazing. Think maybe even the vineyards in Europe, those types of things, but seeing it from a height that's really high. It was absolutely amazing. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh. This was such a relaxing time. Now, I had stopped when I saw this and I was staring down, and I remember in my thoughts, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This is so beautiful. And of course, I jumped because I wanted to fly, and I started flying over this area because I wanted to explore. Now, as I began to fly over this area, suddenly I lost my grip and I was back. I opened my eyes. I was like, oh, as you know, um, if you've listened to my other experiences, you know that I feel that my experiences are always too short. And this was too short, but at the same time, I'm so grateful because I had an opportunity to fly around and be in a very beautiful place. Considering all of the travel restrictions and everything else going on, I am extremely grateful at times to be able to do what I do. And by the way, it had been a while since my last experience. Probably last week was my last experience where I visited my mother and I went, I guess, and time traveled. But this was just a pleasant, very relaxing experience, and I'm happy to have had it. And perhaps it was a way for those around me to relieve some of the stress that's been going on. So I am grateful for that. And I, on my channel, again, would like to thank those around me who take care of me and who understand and know when it is the correct time to take me out and allow me to be out in the astral plane. Anyway, that was my experience. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I hope that you think about the tip that I told. I'm sorry, that I talked about or that I mentioned in regards to being tired. It is very, very helpful to me for those of you who are interested in thinking about leaving your body. Try to be as tired as you can when you go into it. Yes, you will probably fall asleep 8 out of 10 times, more than likely, but there may be that one time where you're able to achieve what you want. So keep it in mind. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.